this one. And this time I'm doing the intro.
All right, you just give me the signal.
Headstrong.
No, I mean, see, it's hard just making something up. An introduction's difficult. So that's why this one is as it is.
It's what it is.
But it's funny. It's like, well, welcome back. We're back. It's like, I don't know how much later this will come out after the previous one, but I mean, we just took a 20-minute break.
Hot
Just
Cheeto
so
break.
People can be behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But if you're somehow new to this is Inane Blather, hosted by a gender studies commie pinko idiot of a sister and a depressed loser economist of a brother.
You know, I think that really describes us pretty well. Actually,
that's why I put it in the intro.
Yeah, that's why. But I was just surprised that you could do that.
Oh my gosh! Oh, you were giving me a compliment on how well I introduced us. But despite our numerous accolades, triumphs, and
mostly failures,
and failures, and then also other failures. Still, at the end of the day, just like you, dear listener, we are
Stubborn, quibbling, self-centered, vindictive, obnoxious, hormonal, sexually preoccupied, evil, thieving, cross-dressing jerks.
I forgot that it
that's
doesn't...
how that soundboard works. Yeah, I forgot to. Oh, well. I'm sure that literally no one is listening to this episode new for the first time. So whatever.
How did you get here? Are you okay?
And really, how did you get here? Please write in and let me know.
Put it in the comments. Listen to this on YouTube. Go to YouTube. Okay, listen to it on Spotify. Go to YouTube, leave a comment.
Or listen to
Smash
it on Spotify.
that like button.
Send us a DM at Inane Blather.
Oh.
There you go.
Does Spotify work like that?
No, I mean on Twitter. Where else would you be sending DMs?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I don't know.
Or is it at Inane Blather on Instagram?
I don't know.
You're the one who set it up. Or is it Inane Blather Pod?
I think.
Okay. Either way, we're easy to find because we're so ubiquitous in the online spheres. But anyway, we had other stuff that we could talk about. This one won't have as meandering of an introduction because we got that all out of the way.
That's boring. The weather was rainy and nice also today. It was all things today.
We hung out today. It's like, wow, 2 weeks in a row. It's like, yeah, they hung out and did yard work together.
Yeah, planted rose bushes and it was Easter. And
yeah, it was Easter 2 weeks in a row for them.
I missed that.
Very progressive. But
I was going to say my campaign idea. We're talking about...
closer here.
We're talking about...
No.
We're talking about what politicians, we were kind of talking about...
You can scoot up your chair instead of your chin.
We're talking...
You make a better chair than a chindo.
No, I don't.
Oh, yeah, that's me. Okay, anyway.
About... like politicians and like what the last episode it was like, what are they doing? Like they're just out there riling up crowds.
Say you do here?
Yeah. And what they should be doing on their campaign trails. Oh, actually that's what we're talking about, people switching parties.
I was also reading about that on the toilet.
Yeah.
In between
it was
episodes.
On your toilet?
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's where people that switch to the GOP go. My toilet.
People have to flush their toilet 15 times.
Just to jam that North Carolina state senator down there.
Trisha?
You have to keep flushing.
Yeah.
No, it was another one this time.
Oh,
Trisha already switched. No.
Swisha. Ugh, I hate that. I'm sorry I said that.
Man, you're stupid.
I'm really reaching. But I would say...
that went slightly better than the worst it could have possibly gone.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice. And you go to the other soundboard and say... that was, and I don't put this lightly, worse than 100 September 11th.
But
and those both come from the same show.
I love The Simpsons.
Okay.
About people switching parties and then it being like, so why is that okay that people voted for a Democrat and after an election they switch? Is that what happens? Because that's pretty unbelievable, honestly.
Well, I was reading in Vox, and it's like, Because I said, technically, I mean, it's still the same person. You can vote however you want. And partisanship, there's nothing about that, like in the rules. But, and in North Carolina, in the state house, they even say,
I would say,
that people cross party lines on individual votes a lot, and she didn't really even necessarily caucus with the Democrats while in the House. But it's like, but you know what? You know who knows about that? Nerds. Not just the people that voted for you. Some people voted for you because of the D next to your name.
I was just going to say, if I voted for a Democrat and they switched parties, I would be so fucking mad if they switched to the Republican Party that's where my vote went. I'd be so fucking pissed because I'd be like, yeah, I voted for you because you're a Democrat, because you're not a Republican, because you're not like straight up in a fascist party.
Like, that's literally the only reason I vote for Democrats.
Because there is literally no other option.
Because they aren't Republicans.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's legit the lesser of two evils.
Yeah, she's been called on from donors, by people to return donors' money.
Yeah.
It's like, just imagine that. And you know what? You can't return the time of people that phone banked for you if you had to do that. I mean, it's a state house, so whatever.
And because what?
It's North Carolina, and I don't think they have phones there.
Because what they're doing, it's not just crossing party lines, it's radically going away from the values that you're saying you stand for, especially now with the Republicans being, they say they're way different than the Democrats. They fucking hate the Democrats and all this kind of stuff. So then for you to switch over to this party that is diametrically, ideologically opposed to you, what does that say about everything you said on the campaign trail and these people that are phone banking because they believe in good education for children?
Or just someone handing out flyers for you because, because it's just a state house thing. But it's like, you can't get that time back. Like, fuck you. And even besides that point, like, not just, it flies in the face of what you campaign for and what that means about your values, but also her case in particular making it a Republican supermajority. Like, just taking that one state rep and saying, all right, it's just directly saying to the governor, all right, you can't do what you want anymore. It doesn't matter. Like, we have a veto-proof majority, and they're Republicans. They're going to vote on the same bullshit anyway. And it even says here in Vox, it's a dramatic departure from the platform on which she ran. She told the crowd that she no longer recognized the Democratic Party despite having campaigned as a Democrat and accepting donations from Democratic groups just months before. So it was last November that she got elected.
Changed her mind.
Yeah, that's right. I kept forgetting what year it is. Yeah, it was 2022. It was just the midterms. Like, it was just, and they've changed so much. Since November?
How?
Fuck you.
How have they changed?
Yes, exactly.
Explain it to me.
Is it the indictment of Donald Trump? I don't know. Like, that's the only thing that wouldn't have been touched on by campaigning, I guess, that you could be surprised by, and you don't have to agree with that. Like, plus the indictment of Donald Trump is done by the Democrats, quote unquote. It's the New York State Attorney General. But anyway,
and I forgot what I was gonna say. I remember what I was gonna say.
The N-word.
Yeah. She joined the General Assembly in 2007 when she was appointed to fill a vacant Democratic seat. Both her parents are well-known figures in local Democratic politics, and those deep ties have caused a sense of bafflement and betrayal among her former supporters. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and when in the last episode we're talking about like obvious corruption and stuff, it's like, you really have to think, what's really going on here? Did she get like a cushy job lined up already from some Republican operative?
Think tank.
What could possibly cause you to do this right here, right now? What could it be? Because it doesn't make any sense with this bullshit. I just don't recognize the party anymore. Well, you just got elected running on their ticket. Okay,
Oh.
what are you really talking about? Or is it just that absolute like brazen corruption that she just literally
Is
got
paid off,
handed a bunch
yeah.
of money or something like that?
I feel
because it's crazy how much that happens.
So what I feel like is like, so you don't recognize the Republican Party, and so you're just gonna leave.
Yeah, there
Like so just like abandon all of those people and just be like, this is beyond any sort of, I just don't really get, like, I would like for them to go like into more detail about what they don't recognize about it, and like what people are voting for, the people that she represents and stuff, and how she's just saying they're fucking stupid, evidently her own constituents, because they're voting Democrat. But whatever. This is what I was thinking about campaigning and why it's
They have a veto-proof majority against Governor Cooper now, and it's been a thing with this. They already had the majority, and Governor Cooper has vetoed 76 bills so far.
This is South Carolina.
North Carolina.
Ooh, I was just thinking about South Carolina
You're
trying
like,
to.
oh, thank God.
No, I
It
mean,
doesn't matter.
South
No.
Carolina trying to introduce legislation about the death penalty for abortions and stuff like that.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Those fucking freaks.
Fucking freaks.
God.
Yeah. So, okay, this brings me to my point. Most people in America, in South Carolina, in Louisiana, in Mississippi, all these places.
And sorry, I just realized it's like, oh yeah, North Carolina is the one that went through all that crazy limits on the governor's power after they came into office and decided to just vote to take a bunch of the governor's power away.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And now he has he's just limp-dicked. You know, what is he going to do? He's like, I guess I'm in charge of the state police. That's it. Anyway,
It's
so
some
what were you saying? Oh,
Viagra.
those different states.
Oh, just no matter what state you're in, pretty much nobody supports the death penalty for women who seek abortions.
Yeah.
Like the vast majority of Americans believe that abortion access, or people should have access to abortion. Really digging for gold there. Ooh, boy.
You're trying to give it some levity.
Yeah, like just that people agree because there's polling and stuff. So what I think is that people, when they're campaigning, campaigns should have to be run differently, not just campaign finance. Like what you're out there doing is you should be out there. You should have to have, I've always been like, why can't people be like taking tests before they're running for office or whatever and like have those test scores posted and see what these idiot. Yeah,
like you don't have to pass it.
We
because
just want to
that would
see.
be limiting, our freedoms or whatever, and just limiting democracy, really. But yeah, oh man, that'd be funny.
Or have people have to have
publicly available results on like people's answers on ideological questions,
and like civics questions and things like that. Or like you have to come out, they have sort of like these vague plans about what they're going to focus on, but they should really have, it's like if you're going to be running for office, you really have some plans set out and do a lot of polling during like your, like CNN and all this kind of crap does polling, but like a better way of really like what these constituents
Reaching your
really
electorate.
want, like what, and see what they really think about these bills or proposed sort of ideas for the future, and how much they agree with them, and really having to be
supposedly
held,
some do,
but really
and stuff.
held to that.
Yeah.
Having some sort of standard
the
for
problem.
this is what people want, and as much so if all you do is throw out vague bullshit, you can just pretty much do whatever you want and never be held accountable.
Yeah.
When the whole point is like you're supposed to
and
be
then
representing.
you'll get reelected because you're an
Yeah.
incumbent.
Yeah. So it should be, I really think it's like, if your polling is lower than a certain amount, then get the fuck out. Like,
Yeah.
legitimately, because.
Or at least I mean.
Or do something different, because.
Then you have to focus on how the polls are conducted and all this. But yeah, it's like.
There's so much.
Just making it easier to
There are
recall
institutes that
people.
do polling.
If more of the electorate, or if more of the people participated
That's
in
what I was
democracy,
just
then
saying,
it would make a big
as
difference.
more of just than one vote that you have to do. Maybe it's like sort of a process, like a kind of a conversation, because it's supposed to be representative. So maybe they have to kind of know how we feel about it, rather than checking one stupid box one time every 4 years for the leader of our nation without really
Yeah.
any sort of understanding about what they're actually going to fucking do ever about anything. Maybe having these dialogues and really actually addressing what people are wanting. And like, if it's saying over 70% of Americans don't think Roe versus Wade should have been overturned and people should
Yeah.
have a federal
And
protection
it
for
shouldn't even be on the table.
then it should not even be on the table at all. If
Yeah.
you can do good polling, there are institutes that do unbiased research. There are ways that you can conduct these kinds of things to get very representative samples of what a population believes in, and you should be held to that.
Yeah.
Because we have the tools now. You don't have to send a fucking carrier pigeon to be like, no, I think women
Unless
shouldn't
you're
die.
Mike Tyson.
It should be,
But
there
we're
should be
not
ways.
electing Mike Tyson to Secretary of the Pigeonry yet.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah, he's on his way. But it just seems like they should have to be held accountable in a more objective way. There are ways to like really use numbers to put the pressure on them. It's like to do something. It's like you have to. If
Yeah.
you're at a job and you're like fucking up all the time and constantly doing a bad
Yes.
job, you get fired.
Yeah.
Like, that's what happens because you're supposed to be having some sort of quality to your work or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
that's the job, you know,
That's
or whatever.
the job.
It just doesn't
You're
seem.
supposed to at least be getting neutral or positive feedback
If
on
you
what you're doing.
have a less than 50% approval rate, you're
Why-
out of here.
Yeah, it's like, why are you there? And I mean, there's something to be said for people making difficult decisions that can, I mean, and then it's all filtered through the lens of politics and the media that can make good decisions look bad in the eyes of many people. But it goes both ways too, where it's like people
But that's
just fucking over their own constituents.
That's why politicians should have to be like these guys running away from reporters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You're out. You have to answer the
Yeah.
questions. Like,
They
that's
should take those elevators out of the Capitol.
legitimately, it's like, no, you have to answer these questions. That is your job. You're here. You're a public servant, motherfucker.
Or at least
you're
if
my
it's one
bitch.
of their from their constituents.
Well, but how else are we supposed to? Oh, vote once every however many years. You can't, like, you can write them, I guess. Like,
No, I'm
they
saying
care,
like get the reporters out, and if it's a constituent asking them a question, they have to answer.
and and then they yell back at them in town halls and like get into arguments with them and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
And hopefully that brings their approval rating down, and then they're out of
No,
there.
I mean it just seems like a way for just
And then
more.
the other guy in the town hall is like, "Leave him alone."
Yeah, leave him alone. No, just really a lot more accountability in those kinds of ways where, because elections, obviously, it's so stupid to think that they're going to hold them
No, I was
accountable
gonna say because
because I don't know where it is.
it's in the D's.
Yeah, it's just, you know, all I think about is
Democracy simply doesn't work.
And I, for one, welcome our new
Okay.
insect overlords.
so. One thing, what is it? The Citizens United ruling, is that what made corporations people or whatever? That's like,
Kind of, in a way.
yeah, that's like a big ruling, like
Oversimplification.
a precedent that we set for
Yeah.
like the way that we move forward with like political
Yeah,
donations
speaking
and
of
stuff.
Not getting rid of speaking of the Supreme Court and not getting rid of people that are engaging in corrupt practices, impeach Clarence Thomas. No.
Yeah,
Like, and the fact that that's filtered through politics, where we even have to worry about the fact that AOC is championing that cause because it will turn some people away from reality that this is. And we'll start anyway. Oh man, disc too slow.
oh man, that was a good one.
Difficulties. What a joke. I know, I told a really good joke, but it contained
It definitely contained
The N-word.
Yeah, so sorry guys, I had to cut it out of the
the
show.
joke.
Oops.
No, that's the joke. It's the N-word.
These people are sick.
I love that drop.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry about that. And I was getting fired up. But and also I kept kind of derailing
Oh,
stuff
wait.
because I want to keep things a little.
Light?
No,
Oh.
well, I mean, I need to return to normalcy. No, I'm just kidding. No,
God,
no,
yeah.
no. Just because I'm always, don't want it. Doesn't matter. What were you saying?
About those representatives in Tennessee that were expelled.
Oh my God.
Yeah, which is like, okay, so what I think about this is that...
Now that's democracy at work.
Oh, wow, I'm surprised I didn't
Yeah,
hit any
I
of
didn't
those
realize how big of a deal it was
buttons.
because of just the word. I thought it meant they were like kicked out
Of just like the seating...
of the
like,
house for the,
for the
day,
day.
or something. No, they're not their representatives
Yeah.
anymore. That is fucking
there was
insane.
2 black men and a white woman, and guess who wasn't expelled?
Yeah. That first black guy, right?
Yeah, it was like, duh. Black guys get away with everything.
Yeah.
I was, God.
Yeah. And that they even called out, that someone called out on the floor saying, oh, she did.
She did.
She
She's
said
like-
it's because of the color of her skin.
And
And, I mean, shouldn't those votes be public already? Like, we should be able to know who switched their votes, right? Because
who voted
to
on-
vote to expel it, they voted to expel one guy but not her. Hey, come here, I want to talk to you.
you're a racist.
Hey
Yeah.
buddy, I want you to talk to me. I've got all of your constituents behind me right now. We want to talk to you really nicely.
Yeah,
hey
just
buddy,
have
come
a
here.
conversation. You know, we just
You
want to
talk
talk.
to my fucking dick.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean this fucking baseball bat. Because that's
Nice.
what you do. You hold a baseball bat, you put it in front of your crotch, and you say, hey, look at my dick.
I got wood.
Do you understand? I'm going to beat the shit out of you. And yes, my dick is small. But
I just
it's getting really...
okay.
Are things getting worse right now?
peacefully
Is
protesting
it Joe Biden's fault?
because
No.
the number one cause of death for youth in America. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
for people under the age of 19, because 19 aren't youth. People under the age of 19, and there was just a school shooting in Nashville like 2 weeks ago. It killed
Mm-hmm.
3 6-year-olds, and they were peacefully protesting. And because of the decorum or whatever
yeah.
they're fucking talking
It's
about,
like,
that's
fine,
what's important.
I'll accept that they broke rules. I'll accept that they broke rules or maybe even laws. But no, you don't encroach on democracy like that and take away people's representatives when that's the only democracy we have in places in most of the country is representative democracy. I don't even care. Like, that's an argument for another day where it's like, basic rules of
As I
the
was just saying,
state
get these
house
guys outta
itself
here.
or something like that. Yeah, whatever. It's like, but no, to take away, remember in fucking 2017, that guy in Montana punched a reporter in front of everyone and went to jail for assault and battery and remained their representative. Because you can go to jail and still continue, like, I mean, even like Trump and stuff, even if he went to prison, I would still feel like, sure, he can run. I'm not going to take that away from anyone. I think everyone who's gone to
for
jail
sure.
or is
Should
breaking
vote.
laws or anything should be able to vote. They should be able to run. I mean, it should probably, like, metaphorically bar you from being elected, as in, like, people probably shouldn't vote for you. But that's up to
Sure,
them.
yeah.
And, like, to remove people, that's
Okay,
crazy.
to
And not only
remove-
that, but then afterwards, like, at least that one guy, I was going to say his name's Justin, but both guys' names were Justin, I'm pretty sure.
That's
yeah, or
funny.
something like that. But that one guy, yeah, him talking with, like, the reporter's scrum, while you could still hear people chanting and stuff out there. He was so awesomely well-spoken. Did you see that one that I sent to the group? Oh, man, maybe I'll even find it. But like, and it's like, oh, my God. now, since I don't know anything about Tennessee politics, that's the guy you kicked out. This guy looks like and sounds like he could be president in, a couple terms. He's fucking badass. And the other guy who I heard speaking on the floor, really, really good speech too. And it's like, so there's no way around this. You guys are fucking freaks.
All I think about these stupid...
everyone from Tennessee... No, I'm just kidding.
The stupid rules about decorum, I think, is the stupidest bullshit ever. It's so incredibly antiquated, and it seems just so, like, get over yourselves. You know what your job title is? You're a servant. Clean my room, bitch. No, I mean, but legit, it's like, what are you...
Because that's what servants do.
The way that they act, like, that they're... so much better than us. And like the decorum stuff, I really think it's stupid. Like the way that they have to...
I would kind of see it that way if you guys did your jobs. If you actually did did the job of, quote unquote, safeguarding our democracy, keeping things running and progressing our country and attempting to and possibly making it one of the greatest countries on earth, then yeah, what you guys do is amazing and it's better than what I do or whatever. But you don't. No, none of you do. Like, and the people who maybe would be part of doing it, because no individual can do it, are like independents, like Bernie,
like
or
Kristen Sinema.
People that aren't going to get something done anyway. But here, let's see if I can get part of this.
Now let's hear what he has to say.
Okay, let's see here.
In order that the National Rifle Association
We're just going to listen to this whole thing.
lobbyists continue to be able to have control over our legislation. What's going through my mind right now is we need to fight for democracy in the state of Tennessee, and we need people not only just to vote, but people to show up and speak out so that we can end the gun violence epidemic that's happening in our state. This is wrong, this is unjust, and this is not the way that it has to be. There is a better way for us to live, and we don't have to live this way. But the Republican Party of the state of Tennessee want to keep things the same. If you want to fight to change it, if you want to help to make this place a better place, you have to use your voice, you have to use your power, and yes, sometimes you got to get expelled.
Sir, sends you back. Are you going to take
I'm coming back.
I'm coming back.
The Constitution has to change. The injustices that are happening here must change. And I'll continue to fight, and my family will continue to fight to make it the place that it ought to be, and not the place that it is now.
What do you have to say to people that came so far?
Okay, it's kind of hard to hear some of this.
Members in Millington and District 86, I love you. I thank you, and thank you for believing that changing and fighting to change the status quo is the right thing to do. We knew
Changing the status quo.
principles and our values. We knew that we were going to have our ancestors with us. We knew that we were not going to yield to injustice, and we will not yield because there's too much at stake. We see gun violence every single day. We have too many loved ones that we're putting in the ground, and these folks up here treat things like it's business as usual. It is not business as usual. Our lives are at stake, and we're going to fight for our lives just like they're fighting for the NRA.
Yes.
Sir, do this again. If you keep standing up there at the well with the bullhorn and doing that same thing again if need be. Yes, we will never shirk back from civil disobedience. Civil disobedience is what built this country.
Yes.
Resisting the status quo built the United States of America into the institution that it is, and it's my ancestors' resistance that got me here. And so I will not forget them or forget the struggles of people, especially children who marched, children who were beaten by dogs, children who were beaten. If I got to get expelled, I'll take that.
Why do you think that you and Justin Jones were expelled, but Gloria Johnson was not expelled?
You cannot ignore the racial dynamic of what happened today. Two young black lawmakers get expelled and the one white woman does not. That's a statement in and of itself. But she'll be back. You plan to be back.
But-
You'll be back. I believe Memphis and Millington gonna send us back.
People
We're
cheer.
gonna keep fighting for our communities because the status quo is not working. It's hurting
Yes.
people. It's killing people. And they're treating things like this as normal. We can never normalize the ending of democracy. We can never normalize the tyranny of the way that these people in positions of power are operating due to white supremacy and due to the maintenance of patriarchy. That's what we're up against. But we are going to fight it because we believe that there is a future that we can live into that is better than the present that we currently have.
So,
See?
and it's like, and so I would say even past the racism, which is obviously present, it's like, he sounds like a leftist. Like, and it's like,
I was just thinking, you know what? He's a representative from Tennessee, and you know what that shows me is exactly what I've been saying. It's exactly what I say at work, is that so many people, no matter what state you're in, really like believe in the same things. You know, like and I've seen some things before too about like, think of these red states as red states, but it's like, it's actually a bunch of like liberals or Democrats or whatever, blue people being held hostage by like Republicans. There's so many people that are not being represented, and look at when they are being. At him.
He just looks fucking badass.
Yeah, when they are being represented, not for long. Like, that's what happens. Their voices are totally taken away, and it just reinforces the idea that we have about these places. You know,
but it's just, man, and hearing him talk, where it's like, oh my god, how, like, it's just cuts even harder. Where it's like, how many people that think like him, let alone speak like him, are there? Like, that actually finally get into positions like this, and now he's kicked out. Someone who's saying even just basic stuff for us, or for the intelligent listeners of this show, but like
the so intelligent.
Oh yeah, I meant not oso. Yeah. No, but oso. That's bear in Spanish. But they have the intelligence of a bear, and half the tree climbing ability. No, but someone like that who's saying like, the status quo is not working. The status quo is killing people. The status quo, relates to white supremacy and the continuation of the patriarchy, and like these things that, and for one thing, he's doing all this just yelling it off the dome to these people because he knows it and he believes it and he feels it, and it's all, and on top of that, it's all true. Like, you can't argue with this fucking guy. I don't give a shit who you are.
That's the thing that's getting me.
The whole line of, we need to, what was it? We need to work as hard as they are working for the NRA.
Yeah.
And like, and then a guy like this, I mean, two guys like this, it's just, that one really got to me because he's just spitting
and
fire.
Also, it's like, okay, again, it's like this thing we were talking about. It's like, so what would it take? What would it take for like them to not be worried about the decorum and bullshit like that? So it's not children being murdered. That doesn't matter. Okay. That is not worth.
That's their stance.
Yeah, children.
Let's just go from there.
So what would it take?
Yeah.
What is worse than children being literally gunned down at school? Kindergartners. This is at like a preschool through 6th grade school. These are babies getting absolutely slaughtered, going to school to get an education. Like, yeah, bye, babe. Love you. Have a good day.
All 3 kids in the Nashville shooting were all 9 years old.
Oh, I thought they were 6.
Or 6, yeah. 6
Sandy
years old,
Hook
and it was
had
6 people total.
Yeah, 3 teachers, I think, and 3 children, babies, like legit little babies that are like missing teeth and like bright little sweet little delights of their parents.
In case people don't know that
like,
listen to this show, but everyone that listens is our friends anyway. But it's like, I have a 9-year-old.
Yeah, I have 2 nieces.
Yeah, and I mean, something like that happened. I don't know. I mean, anyone would say, I don't know what I would do. It's like, I probably know what I would do. I would commit an act of terrorism.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd have nothing to live for. I don't give a shit about you.
That's what it seems like. But it's what are people supposed to do? Like, when we're talking about, it's like, these are kids. Please do something. Like, how else can we beg? Yeah. There is only so much you can do. The
president cried on national television after one of the first big
Sandy
ones,
Hook.
And that was 11 years ago.
Yeah. And what do people have to do? And, how angry should it make you is my question. Like, with people like commenting on protests getting out of control, and like the the quote, the riots are the language of the unheard, or whatever, blah blah blah, because it's like, so how angry should I be about children being mutilated beyond recognition to where you have to be DNA tested to see what child was shot up in this, elementary school shooting? How mad should that make me? Should it make me just be like, wow, that's a bummer. I guess I'll just vote.
Yeah.
I mean, shouldn't you be like...
Well, but you know what? Even
imagine what the French people would be doing right now.
Yeah.
Their country would be...
like 62.
They would be like
65.
atom bomb on themselves.
Yeah. I'm taking you all with me. No, but even besides the gun control debate, like the expulsion thing is horrible no matter what. Because if it's some psychopath who was there as a representative of their constituents protesting and breaking decorum rules because they were passing gun control, and they're one of those like, no, we need to arm teachers instead, don't take away my guns, I would still think it's bad for you to expel them.
Sure.
Like, if they're a fucking Nazi, they've been elected here. Nazis don't get elected.
Yeah.
So whatever. I mean, there's some here and there that you can call
Steve
Nazis.
King.
But if it's someone like, and so often those people get elected under false pretenses, or where we're talking about just lying and just getting elected, like so many do. But like this guy seems like a pretty good representative, especially if you're not a big businessman getting elected. Like it's based on people wanting you to represent them. I don't care if your view is completely opposite of mine. I don't see why any form of protest, unless you murdered someone in the house or something, then it's like, no, we can't have you here anymore. Like, or you raped 3 people in the Capitol building. It's like, okay, well, you can't be the representative because you can't be here for votes, so we're gonna have to let you go. You have to go deal with this from prison, okay? And you can run for something else in a different Capitol building somewhere else after you've done your time. It's like expulsion. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And so it's like there's the racism aspect, but to even get to that point of bringing it to a vote to show like the racist part of it, I think it's really the leftist thing, because we're seeing something like that. He's saying just some real shit. Like I said, he's spitting, talking about civil disobedience, all the arguments that I got in with people a couple of weeks ago about how they just seriously don't get it. Like, just the little that I know about the 1960s and the shit that was going on and the things that had to happen to get any sort of changes, and that also cemented reactionaries' views on progressive movements big time, because leftists burned down buildings and murdered cops, and set off bombs and stuff like that. Or, I mean, it was just seriously violent clashes and stuff, and now it's just called riots and blah, blah, blah. Anyway. So, speaking of Tennessee, I recently signed a Nashville record contract. So I'm
5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, Kingbird sitting on the telephone wire.
Chicago. No, one that we didn't bring up in the last episode, that I had sent you this, and to see if you wanted to talk about it, or at least I could read this and just move on. But I had been sitting there thinking about, that's why I said, speaking of Tennessee, I wrote something about rural areas, even though we're talking about the guy from Memphis getting kicked out of the state house. It's like a town of literally like 1,000 times more people than where I live.
Yeah.
Not quite, but... Right? What would that be? That'd be like 3 million? Yeah, there's not that many people in Memphis.
Definitely not.
But, how did I write this? And just so people know, when I'm changing the subject or reading from my notes and I say, hey, I wrote this down, it sounds stupid because I'm reading it word for word.
Oh, how I wish I could believe or understand that.
Yeah.
That's how I feel every time you read from
This
your
thing's
notes.
worrying me after that
Disc
last problem.
too slow.
Disc too slow.
What I say to that is...
LMFAO.
I couldn't I couldn't swipe in time to not have some sort of filler.
Yeah, but you didn't say it into the microphone anyway, so who cares? No.
I was all like...
So I said, we know that being around people, especially of diverse backgrounds, is a key factor in developing empathy and in turn becoming more progressive or, being on the same page as us smarty pants,
more
privileged white
open-minded.
people that are progressives and have stickers on their cars. Who cares? But let me pause this for 1 sec.
It's very cringe when you do that.
As soon as I clicked record again.
I did it on purpose.
Rural peoples are often left out of this, and that's why the collective nation of rural people in the USA is pretty much the modern American South. We talk about the difference between conservatives and all that, or different red states. It's like, no,
have to do with
as
class,
you've probably been
maybe?
told a billion times, it's rural versus urban, pretty much.
Rural versus urban. Ermagerd.
Ermagerd, the rural urban. How can we change this? How can we bring... Yeah, so, and it's like, and that leads to, less progressive areas being rural, right? And it leads to cities being more progressive and stuff. That's a big factor. Just being exposed to other people, being exposed to more ideas, more types of people, gaining more empathy through this, more money, more wealth inequality, just visible on a daily basis, things like that, all sorts of reasons. But how can we change this? How can we bring these slack-jawed rednecks out of the Dark Ages? That's right, I said just kidding. But not to be classist about it, right?
You didn't say toothless. That's classist.
They're slack-jawed. It's probably ableist, honestly. But,
yeah, I guess.
Slack-jawed, mouth-breathing. But
Straw
how can we...
chewing.
Yeah, how can we help reveal to workers outside of cities that they are just as exploited as, for example, city factory workers or Starbucks employees or Uber drivers who are, trying to do things like create unions. Wow, I didn't read it word for word there. Rural culture can be so reactionary and conservative, and that's not just for white people, although, yes, it mostly is. This would be a noble outcome of the internet, opening people's eyes to other cultures and ideas when they live so far from bustling cities. We're so connected, why can't that be alleviated, this issue? Via the internet, even though it's virtual, it's not as good, but still, it's like, oh, you don't live around a bunch of people. You're connected to 7 billion people because you have a phone in your pocket. Yeah. But that would be a noble outcome of the internet, opening people's eyes to other cultures and ideas when they live so far from bustling cities. Yet, we all know what the internet actually does. And instead of being more progressive, an ill-informed working-class slob will instead have deranged views on AOC, even though they don't live in New York City or anything. Small towns could be, and sometimes are, shining examples of communal relationship building and loving humanity. Yet we are propagandized and divided, pitted against each other by the capitalist forces that also extract our labor and free time, guiding us to blame either each other's consumption habits or political leanings for our own daily woes. And it's like, yeah, that's...
Woes.
Whoa.
Our daily woes, bro.
That's why you're
my
having
God.
a daily woe right now.
Yeah, I'm like... Bruh.
And you're like, drugs are fun. Yeah. Yeah, I could hear how dank that bud is. That's some kind flower.
Nice. Well, I can't reach the ashtray. I'm just gonna ash this on the floor.
Okay,
That's cool.
Well, what do you think?
I think that it goes back to what we were talking about last episode. Is education.
Oh, yeah. That's part of it.
That's a huge part of it, about the funding of public education. Talking about rural communities in America. You're talking poverty.
That maybe it's not just... Yeah, but still...
You're talking the inability to critically think. You're talking you're just not getting as good of an education if you're in a rural. Some of these places are really poor. Talk about West Virginia and stuff like that.
Here,
This is nothing. Where you live,
not this city,
well,
but right next door. I mean, it's still like more red state country rural type because of these same issues. Because even the metro area that I live next to, the Tri-Cities. So as I dox myself, no, I just don't live in the Tri-Cities. But it's like that's a lot of people and stuff, but it's all spread out. It's 3 cities.
It's 3
There's
small
all these
cities.
reasons. There's no urban center in where we are, and I think it's not. And so there's still that non-urban structure, but there's good education. There are rich schools here and stuff. So I'm saying it's not just when we're looking at these social forces that get people to naturally become more progressive. It's those things outside of just education. Of course, that's a big thing, but it's like, how can we connect people in a way, so that no matter
I know the answer. It's better public transportation. It's high-speed trains and stuff, so people in rural areas can go to big cities.
Yeah.
Actually, like here, you have to drive 3.5 hours to get to Seattle. You have to cross a mountain pass. It's not really feasible in the wintertime a lot, or not smart if you have to get back in time. Pass could close at any time sometimes. And
we live in the American West. You have to go far to get anywhere.
Big states, lots of ground, lots of space out here.
I don't feel like my state's very big because we live near California.
If you could hop on a train,
you can fit all of New England
Washington
here.
is huge. Yeah, if you could get on a train and visit some of these places for like an afternoon or evening, you didn't have to drive, you didn't have to deal with traffic.
We were more physically connected.
Maybe
somehow.
people would be able to go. It's like, I'd like to go. There's a show I'd like to go to, or for like every type. And restaurants and things like that, and then you would just get that natural exposure to like
other
gay
cultures.
people and like things like that.
The culture of the gays.
Well, just walking around in Seattle and just seeing how different everyone is, the way that what people are doing, how they're dressed, what they're everything, like all the different restaurants,
you might make friends in these places. No, I'm saying, and that makes these connections.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's funny how it's like, not a first thing that pops in mind, because it's like, just there's this disconnect, like us rural peoples,
folks,
in this very broad way of looking at it, but non-urban, and I don't mean as a
talking
euphemism.
About a metropolitan, a major metropolitan
all of
area
us are being, like somehow, like, metaphorically cordoned off from the things that propel us forward. And like, I don't know, unless you're a supervillain or a crazy fascist, like any way that it's on your mind and in your your basic values in terms of how you view your nation and all that stuff, anything going forward is better. Like you're wanting to move forward. You want to improve things.
Progress.
Like, the opposite of
progress.
conservatism, And so it's like to connect us, because it's like I am nobody. And I'm probably the most radical person in my town.
Radical.
And I don't
You're
do
tubular,
anything.
Dude.
Yeah. And it's like, but I mean, radically left, at least. Yeah, I'm sure there's some radical right people around here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But it's like, we need some sort, like you're saying, some sort of physical connection to make people see
to be able
the
to
actual class connections that we have and say, oh yeah, it should be better for us. It should be, but it's not like, hey, but I like this. I like where I'm at. It's like, no, but because you're not thinking about how the world and your fellow classmates, you know, if we're talking about the working classmates, should have things better.
For sure.
It's, you know, man, capitalism
And
just really does that to people.
And I was just thinking, Washington is a good, I mean, it's so easy of an example because it's not just like, I mean, a lot of places, like there's a city and then all around it is kind of, you know, red or whatever. But Washington, there is a real divide too between the states, like the West Side. There is a real attitude for both people. West Siders to East Siders, East Siders to West Siders for sure. Because people on the East Side are thinking the whole entire West Side is Seattle, and it's like, no, there's like Aberdeen or they're your kind of folk here for sure. But
there are still there's a lot of rural areas on that side.
Just where most people live.
But just the fact that it's
Seattle and
a
Tacoma,
little bit more connected to those areas, it's still like more Democrat leaning.
Where I
stuff
live,
like that.
which would be, you know, like if it was any further away from Seattle, I mean, I know that it's like, that's why we have Pride and multicultural events.
Yeah.
Like we don't, at the place where we grew up, you know, here in Eastern Washington, it's like close, you know, it's like sort of similar to that. It reminds me a lot. And I'm like, just how much closer we are where I live now to like the future, you know, it's because of our proximity to Seattle's like 45 minutes away. And that's absolutely a huge part of it. It's not
and you still you're in a small town that's a ways off of the main
out in the
freeway.
sticks.
But yet it's so much further ahead on social issues.
Then it's like
or
counterparts
just
over here.
even talking about this stuff or discussing
There's
it.
pride
like,
flags all over
can
where
you
I live.
imagine
Over here, it's
pride here in my town.
No.
No, exactly. Oh man. Actually, that was a whole thing with the previous people in the Chamber of Commerce, city volunteer planning stuff that I'm involved in. Like, there was fights about this bitch ass right wing lady that was on the board before I was ever there. I would hear about it from my ex-wife. And I mean, she would literally, I mean, just total Fox News head would get in fights about how she didn't want the Chamber of Commerce even like having it was all started with inane like pride flag in your Facebook avatar that people do during Pride Month or something like that. Where it's like, who are you? Where are you from? And it's like, oh, that's right. A bunch of people are like you. Just self-defeating.
You're living with them. Ooh.
Like, where it's like, why? Why do you have anything against any marginalized group? You live in a shithole with me. We live in the same shithole. We're both working class. Like, it's, instead of us being connected, like, it's such a stupid thing, like, we're just being so divided, but it's true. Like, capitalism and the capitalist media, like, really sows division. It just makes so much money, and it's so much easier to exploit all of us out here in the sticks, you know, when we're like that. When we had, I mean, was it Lyndon Johnson, you know, or whatever, like convince any white man, you know, that the black man's below him, he'll empty his pockets for you or whatever, that stuff. Like,
and it's, you know,
we need help.
And what's a bummer is how
plus,
much.
Even talking about how the internet doesn't help that much, we don't get very good internet in a lot of places.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, capitalism.
Puritans. Puritans with your lack of high-speed internet in rural areas in America.
What the heck's up with that?
And that's capitalism too.
Yeah.
ISPs.
What I feel like is it's a bummer that it holds us back so much. Like so like Washington is a great example. People over here, farmers, there's a lot of agriculture. It's a lot of agriculture. That's what it is. And how they're so like, oh, these West Side blah, 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 liberals and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, there's people living over here. There's like scientists and stuff like
Yeah.
that, like really like doing the work to be like more efficient at like what you guys do. And
Washington State University. Like,
yeah,
come
I mean,
on.
and they just
That's
like,
way out and literally just in the middle of a bunch of farmland.
oh man, that is way out there. But
And it's a bunch of Marxist college people.
yeah, but they have like this attitude about like higher education or whatever, and all these kinds of things that go into these differing attitudes, when it's like all of these resources and stuff that's like over on the west side, say like these institutes and all these scientists and doing research and crap like that, and how they could, you know, work with these farmers who have all this actual knowledge about how to do things and things like that, and combine forces and make like a nice, better society instead of being like, I don't want any of these. Like, just how much could come of the blend of these things that we have to offer, instead of it being a division, it being a strength.
Instead,
and this
they
is
don't
Tucker
want
Carlson.
nothing to do with them.
Yeah,
I don't
why-
want my tax dollars going to them, and I want to close the borders, even though I employed 90% of my employees are illegal immigrants.
Yeah, it's it's just such a bummer that and that's that's capitalism.
That we're so easily propagandized too.
Yeah,
It's crazy. Although, see, that's where the education comes in, is that being out here with less of a connection to broader working class humanity, you know, makes us so easily propagandized to and so easily divided from, you know, what we see as the elite ruling class, when it's like, they have, like Hassan always says, they have class solidarity. Those guys, the capitalists have class solidarity, but they make it so easy for us to, like, not even come close to getting along between East Side and the West Side, you know, like you're saying, even though it's like, no, it's a lot of workers. There's farm workers. There's people that
Amazon workers.
like, yeah, it's like if you're a mechanic, you know, working on tractors or something like that and making a decent living, who are you to be a conservative? I don't get it. Like, come back. Actually, literally, what seems stupid at first, come back and let's argue about like moral and social conservatism or something like that first, instead of like, you know, voting to lower taxes on billionaires and making sure that, you know, anything can be done to stop all the wokeness in Seattle and stuff. It's like, there are issues that we have in common that are and may be shaping the outcomes of our lives over and over again, and making it so that you'll never live the life that you potentially could. Then none of us will, because of this issue, because of a lack of class solidarity across these stupid party lines that happen because we're not educated enough to have media literacy, to not be propagandized to.
And we don't have the ability to get to have experiences very easily,
and
and
then
with other
outside
diverse
of being
populations.
divided, just
physically
proactively coming together on top of that.
And you know what's annoying about farmers being conservative is how
Everything.
much the government props up the entire agriculture industry, which, as it fucking should, it's food, guys.
Yes.
That's like one of the most basic things we should have access to,
Yeah,
because,
I
you know, we
think
kind of
food should
die.
be
Food,
pretty cheap.
I think it should be as cheap as it possibly can possibly be. I think the profit motive
And
should
that
be...
if you can't afford that, it should be given to you.
Yeah, and if you can't afford that, what does that say about a lot of other
About
things?
you, bum.
Yeah,
No.
you fucking loser.
Yeah, that's our take. If you're poor, die.
Yeah, if you're poor,
Suck a dick, dumb shit.
that's your lunch.
Then maybe I'll give you some food.
Yeah.
Coconut Island.
Yeah. Ooh. Do you want to get it just in case this... Not that we've been having any technical problems. But, you know I did... Well, luckily we did, because earlier you were saying
The N-word.
No, it was a joke. When I said that. No. No, we were talking about me saying that. Do I want to what?
Cut it.
Stop the episode?
Oh, I just was seemed scared.
What?
That it was just
I just keep looking. Yeah. I mean, whatever. It's just going to be a really choppy, crappy episode. Who cares?
Yeah. Keeps just like cutting into the middle of a conversation that we're having.
No, I think we did pretty good with it, but it's not going to sound great, but that happens. Oh, man. I had so much more. Okay, let's do a third episode. Well, I'll just say before we're done, speaking of exactly what we were just saying, right? So I was driving down one of the more bustling streets in the Tri-Cities and was sitting in traffic at a stoplight, and this guy was just marching around back and forth. He was saying some stuff, especially if he would catch someone's eye and stuff. He had a big sign that said in all caps, "Impeach Biden over Mexico border crisis." That's how he was spending his day.
Huh.
Some guy, in Richland, Washington, wants us to impeach Biden over the Mexico border crisis.
I mean, I don't agree with the border situation either. And you know what? I admire this guy.
It is a crisis that is not open.
You know what? He's really, I think we might disagree about what the crisis is, but that I think
I'm like, you go, bro. Get those borders open.
Yeah,
I should have said something.
I admire someone who goes out and does something.
No,
he goes
exactly.
Out there
it's like, but it just shows the reason that that's what he's doing.
Cry for help
shows
on the
this
streets.
Really,
that's what I'm like. He's so vulnerable out there.
Of exactly what we're talking about. Like, why
impeach Biden
over the Mexico border crisis? Like, even if you could say that there's a crisis, which there is, it's a humanitarian crisis, like at all times, because we have a huge bureaucracy in the way of refugees finding shelter in the greatest country on earth. It's like, yeah, that's a crisis. We should be helping these people much faster. But
yeah, for sure. We shouldn't be like splitting up families and stuff.
Yeah,
we shouldn't be
like, propping up coup d'etats in Central America that start decades-long struggles and refugee crises. That end up sending people to us, and then we don't want them here.
And then we have a really cruel way of looking at them when it's like, why can't they come to America? I don't understand what the problem is. And also just, where Biden's wanting to do Trump-era policy of like, or did they reinstitute it where you have to check in as a refugee at every country you go through on your way to America? Otherwise, you don't count as a refugee. Like when you come here and they can just turn you away when you're asking for refugee status, which is so unnecessarily
Mexico
like
does too already though. But
man,
either way, that aside, the policies, whatever. We don't discuss policies, okay? Too hard.
We've been known to.
Stinky. Too small. But I looked at that guy, I was like, oh my God, he admitted. No, but just like, you're that politically active up here in your brain hole, like that into it, yet at the same time, you've missed the mark so badly. You're just a white guy,
obviously,
with a mustache, talking on a podcast. No, that's me.
Yeah,
no,
you have a goatee.
I have a Van Dyke, thank you. But that's how you're spending who knows how much time, but any time.
And you have to remember, he made that sign. That's what I like to imagine. Imagine how he went about that. What was going on?
Oh, he was laying on the floor and he
with
was
his
kicking
feet
his
up in the
feet up in
air.
the
He's
air
like,
and just kind of sit back and
Look
forth.
what I did.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Did they impeach Biden?
He was like,
tell me more.
bopping
Tell
along.
me more.
'Cause
Have you seen my pen?
Because they should be trying.
I lost it. It rolled under the couch.
I thought we were talking about Biden.
No.
It went off on the pen tangent.
Yeah, the guy was making the sign.
Yeah.
And then he lost his pen.
Mm-hmm. It's gold.
Because he was so vigorously swinging his feet back and forth.
I think...
he was up on a little table on the corner swinging his feet too.
Yeah.
No.
And then I'm going to draw a No, not a rainbow. He would not draw a rainbow, yeah.
Because that's what Jesus had was rainbows. Yeah, what a fucking loser. And some people there were pedestrians that were walking by and I think one guy was like meeting the other guy. I said it was late for a while. Sucks a George Washington way.
Yeah.
But yeah, and as I think he was meeting him because he started saying something to him, and the sign guy thought that the approaching man was talking to him, and he like smiled. So he was like, "Oh yeah, what do you think?" And the guy was like, "No, never mind. No, I'm talking to him." Like there was someone behind him, and he was like, "Oh, okay." So he just went back to pacing back and forth with this huge kind of open-mouthed, weird smile, showing it to everyone. Wasn't even like some dirty, weird psycho like I saw with the Ilhan Omar sign in their car.
Mm-hmm.
Like, looked like a 45-year-old semi-professional. Like,
semi-professional basketball player.
Professional R word.
It sounds pretty into this,
buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have just rolled down the window and have the soundboard
Mm-hmm.
and just start playing things at him, like really loudly.
The N-word!
Yeah, sounds like you're pretty into this, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a weird person.
And I was like, hey, bro, your sign? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, not good.
Oh,
You know
would
what
be
I
funny.
say? I love Karl Marx.
Yeah, I wonder what he would be like to have a conversation with. He's probably mentally
I
ill.
don't.
Oh, I mean, he
did not
obviously
seem
is
mentally
because...
Mental illness is when you're right wing.
Well, yes, that's true. Good
Thank you.
Good save.
Yeah.
Good job.
It was Ben. It was all Ben. He knows
Yeah.
Ben knows best.
No, he looked more like someone who might listen to Ben Shapiro every once in a while. I mean, you can't judge a book by its cover, but we know what people look like that hold signs out on the street with political messages on them. And he did not seem like...
They look...
Not good.
Yeah. He might have, like... I mean, he wasn't hot. I mean, I wouldn't fuck the guy, but
That's saying a lot.
And his sign was pretty nicely written out. Whatever.
Imagine the process. I've made a sign for a rally before, and so
Yeah.
I know
It
what
was
it's
just a
like.
big swastika.
Yes. No, that's my tattoo. No.
Yeah, but you brought the sign in that you made for the rally, and you're like, I want you to draw this.
Yeah,
It's some artwork
but
I made.
bigger, yeah.
But put it on my chest, right in between my teeth.
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah. And I'm like, stop talking like that. Just get the tattoo already. Stop
God,
talking like
I want to
that.
be matching. Yeah. So on the way here, I also passed by the sign which is the sign that I always think about when I like to imagine people doing the work to put up their opinion. And it's a sign that is a huge, it's a pretty large Trump 2020, must be 2020 actually. Between two trees, it's like mounted on there with like 2x4s and stuff, and I just really imagine
Want
it
to just burn
getting
it down.
delivered, and I imagine him going
Doing
out there
all
with his
that.
tools and hammering or screwing into this tree and like measuring and all this
Listening
stuff.
to Credence. And,
Yeah,
thinking he's... Oh, he
What a
loved every
patriot.
second of it.
I know. It's a
And you know it was a guy.
obviously,
Yeah.
yeah, because it looks like shit too. It's not very artful. Like it's just
Well, what is it? There's that guy that lives near you. He has like an inflatable eagle.
He has a custom built, like, not like a
Trump
gazebo,
shrine.
but it's like sort of like a shrine for his inflatable American flag bald
shrine.
eagle, which on the side of his house he also has a fuck Biden flag and like
that's what it
some
was, yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah, we're actually dating.
I told you not to bring him up on the podcast. But
yeah. It's gonna get weird now. He obviously doesn't listen.
Yeah, he doesn't listen to the show. I mean, he tried
thinks my
listening
name's
once.
Melissa.
Yeah. And I've been stealing money out of his wallet.
He's got enough money for a bald eagle gazebo. He can throw me a few dimes.
A gazebo. It's my bald gazebo. Well, when I think of a sign that makes a political statement that I see often, it's when I'm on back roads to the neighboring town, and I mean, I think I know what they mean, but it's a big sign that says "Phil wanted." I'm like, all right, buddy.
All right. My name's not Phil, but I can do the job.
Yeah. Good thing you spelled that with an F.
Yeah.
Because I don't know nobody named Philip. That's how I talk when I'm out there in the sticks. But,
You know, you're saying rural America is like the South.
mm-hmm.
People,
yeah, in terms of people being stupid and racist, that's the South, right?
yeah, people like that guy from Memphis.
Yeah, that guy that got kicked out.
Yeah, like even people around here, like country boys, affect a sort of Southern accent.
it's really
like
stupid
It's
and
really
annoying.
weird. I guess it's from country music or whatever, or chewing tobacco just makes you sound like that. But
No, they talk like I
they
mean,
do.
That's whatever.
Darlin'
Accents are
and-
accents, but it does. I think it's weird.
it's definitely
Like,
around
where'd you
here too.
get
Yeah,
that?
just because you drive a pickup, you have
And
to have
on top
Southern
of
drawl.
that, then someone comes here from like a southern state where they have an accent, and it's so noticeable. Like when I talk to people from Texas, because I love Texas accent. It's just it's like the best way to speak American English, you know. But it's like
It's the best way.
yeah, it's like that. It's like that.
That's my Austin
like
accent,
West
actually.
Texas. Yeah. But it's like, oh yeah, that's right. That's what a drawl actually sounds like. Instead of, I mean, it's literally just like redneck kind
Yeah.
of is what it is. Yeah, and it's
West
really,
Coast redneck.
It's like what? Yeah, it's like it is kind of an interesting question. Like, what brought you to speak like that? Because that's
Ain't
not,
nobody talk like that around here.
yeah, because it's like I don't. You weren't taught English that way, like growing up around here. Like,
There's
what
more of,
about
like, a
being
Midwestern-
surrounded by cows made you talk like
There's
that?
more
Cows
of a
don't talk like that.
Midwestern Canadian influence for people, and like
No,
oh yeah.
no, that's not right.
So you think that's right then, huh?
No,
No. What about? But and around like where we're from, you would be way more likely to, if you're going to affect some sort of accent, it would be like something like a Mexican.
Yeah.
You know, like
I can
accent.
hear that for
We
sure.
can definitely hear it.
I recognize it.
Someone told
and-
me that they could hear it sometimes when I say things. Someone who's Mexican.
and you're like, you don't even know.
Yeah.
And she's like, now you're from Puerto Rico.
I was like, oh yeah. Oh, dang it! I had
You're
a
like, almost me my Bronx accent.
like what?
Ugh.
Zoinks, Scoob! Yeah,
Hi, Kelsey.
it was for her.
Well, I'll just end this with
bite.
I try to fill in with something stupid every once in a while, and I did write on here. So my question: which one of the Marx Brothers was the economist?
None.
Like,
Yeah, Carl.
There's
Carl,
Groucho,
Happy,
Harpo.
Harpo.
Chico and Carl?
Yeah.
Like-
he was the one that didn't sing or dance. He was like their manager.
Or shower.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was the manager. Yeah, he was a ruthlessly exploitative Hollywood manager.
Man, the
named
deals he
Karl
would really
Marx.
get. Yeah.
He put the screws on him. Yeah, and just so he could buy a second home that he rented out in a slum.
Yeah. Old Carl. Yeah.
But I wrote that
was
down.
funny.
I was like, that's funny.
That is funny.
That's not funny.
That's pretty funny.
That's not funny.
It's funny enough.
Bye. Okay.
All right.
Love you.
Love you
Fine,
too.
I'll let you go to bed. Natalie's staying at my house.
There's just so many drops. I can't.
Yep. Yeah, you could go to the other one.
Okay.
Go back. Go
I
back.
know. I already did, and I
then
went
go to
and
that
looked
one,
at that.
and we can talk about the Marx Brothers.
I love Karl Marx.
Yes.
If
Well,
you-
I am more a fan of Groucho, but to each their own.
Nice.
That's better.
And then Harpo would be like,
Yeah,
'Cause he
Harpo's
doesn't
such
talk.
a good podcast guy. I wonder how many of the few people that listen to this show watch the Marx Brothers.
yeah, well, they're missing out. I once shot an elephant in my pajamas. How it got in my pajamas, I'll never know. It's a classic.
I don't know why you're changing the subject to your exploits in Africa, but but I was talking about the Marx Brothers.
You what?
Yeah. Anyone, if you have it, jeez, just look up Groucho Marx compilation. It's hilarious.
He's pretty great.
I like Duck
yeah.
Soup. That's a good one.
Suck dick.
And actually, some of those, it's kind of funny political satire, these little jokes and stuff like that back then. Especially, is that Duck Soup or that's a different one where Groucho is like the supreme chancellor of like that made up country, and he's there visiting them, and they end up going to war and stuff. Yeah, this made up country, Nazi Germany. But
He did
yeah,
what
He
with
looks
the
like
trains?
such a Nazi, Groucho Marx. Sure, okay. It's like he looks like a bushy-faced Larry David. No,
He's like Nick Kroll, like how Nick Kroll described himself, a Nazi propaganda poster.
but I think those compilations make me laugh. I think I'm going to do that right now. So
Okay, let's go to
I got to
that.
get going.
Bye. How many
Love
times
you
are we going
all.
to make that joke?
I don't know, but I love the listeners. You just want to keep saying goodbye.
Toot toot. Yeah.
You're right in front of me.
Yeah.
You're like, I can't hear you. But my computer
Sorry.
cut out. You're like,
Yeah.
what? Sorry.
Bad connection. Sorry. And also,
Poop in the bed.
Blow out people's eardrums in this
Yeah.
episode. And choppy editing.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
Oh, man.
this is one for.
Just on top of that, I'm going to put like a really shitty song at the beginning. Like, this is my new music. Yeah,
It's in 9/8 time. These headphones are too small. It's like they're made for a child.
Too small.
He admitted.
Okay, all right. Love you. Bye.
Okay, thanks, Zach Kelsey, Vanita,
R.M. Brown.
Our Lord and Savior.
And thank you, our friends of the show, Chapo Trap House.
Oh yeah, that's your boyfriend, Nick Mullen.
Yeah, on Chapo.
Oh, Chapo. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
He's been on. They've been known to.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.